So Hillary Clinton is running for president. For now, it's styled as a book tour, but it's really just a 650-page campaign brochure. I love the title of her book, Hard Choices. You know, it's a tough world out there, and it takes a tough operator like Hillary to protect our interests. You go, girl. It's how she likes to think of herself. She loves this photo of her wearing sunglasses while looking at a BlackBerry, taking on some U.S. military airplane. So tough. And remember this TV ad? It was when Clinton was running for the Democratic presidential nomination against Obama. She was trying to emphasize that she was the one who had the experience and the toughness to handle a dangerous world.
It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. But there's a phone in the White House and it's ringing. Something's happening in the world. Your vote will decide who answers that call. Whether it's someone who already knows the world's leaders, knows the military, someone tested and ready to lead in a dangerous world. It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. Who do you want answering the phone?
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
Well, she actually got her wish. She didn't become president, of course, but she was put in charge of all the trouble spots in the world. Obama appointed her to be his Secretary of State for his first term. That's what they call their foreign minister. She was in charge of everything from Iran to Egypt to China to Russia. Oh, she'd do much better than that yahoo George Bush, that Texas cowboy who couldn't even pronounce words like nuclear. For example, to prove how much better they were going to be at handling tough characters, Clinton met with Sergei Lavrov, Vladimir Putin's foreign minister, perhaps the wiliest diplomat in Europe, if not the world, and she gave him a toy with a red button on it with the Russian word reset. Oh boy, did Lavrov enjoy that. Look at him laugh there in that picture. He got Clinton's number right there, and so did Putin. So here we are 5 years later, and how's the world looking like? Well, Iran is busy building its nuclear weapons, and Obama's actually lifted sanctions on it. North Korea, which has nukes, is taking careful notes and testing missiles and weapons at will. The Arab Spring has turned into an Arab winter with terrorist extremists overwhelming the Muslim world. Egypt's army stepped in to remove a terrorist leader against the express wishes of Obama and Clinton. China is bullying its neighbors as never before, Vietnam and Japan, for example. Venezuela is cracking down on democracy protesters there. Sergei Lavrov is still laughing as he and Putin invade Ukraine in slow motion. There is not a region in the world that's not worse off today than when Obama and Clinton inherited it. America's allies don't trust it anymore. America's enemies don't fear it anymore. The world is a more dangerous place. And yet Clinton is the media party's hero and their champion for the 2016 presidential campaign. All of these things are disasters. Freedom is in retreat around the world. America's reputation is at a low point. But then the disaster of the past weekend. With shocking speed, a terrorist group called ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, has just reconquered half of Iraq in a matter of days. They started out in those little terrorist favorites, those little Toyota pickup trucks with terrorists with machine guns in the back, a bunch of yahoos. But they won. And they won, and they won, and again and again with lightning speed. They seized the second largest city in Iraq, called Mosul, where they grabbed $420 million from the main bank there. And along the way, they scooped up serious military hardware, most of it American. They took Humvees, they took armored vehicles, they even seized M1 Abrams tanks, the most deadly tank in the world. They even seized U.S. helicopters. A week ago, ISIS was a ragtag bunch of losers, mainly made up of jihadis from overseas who had been in Syria fighting against Bashar Assad. They were the dregs of the West, and frankly, what better place to have them than in Syria, as opposed to in London or Toronto or Calgary. But now they're not just ragtag losers. They're ragtag losers with a win, who have close to $500 million cash, plus billions of dollars in military hardware and control of half of Iraq. Here are pictures of them arresting women for not wearing the Muslim niqab. Here are pictures of them burning alcohol and cigarettes, this picture from Syria, in the name of Sharia law. And let me warn you of the graphic nature of this next TV clip, so turn off the TV if you don't want to see brutal savagery. Here are images of them slaughtering hundreds and hundreds, close to 2,000 actually, Iraqis who were in Iraq's domestic police and Iraq's armed forces. That is, these were the Iraqis who were foolish enough to try to stand for liberty and democracy and Western values, who believed America when America promised to help them be free and to rid the country of terrorists. This is the vengeance of Islamic terrorists reconquering Iraq, their fellow Muslims and Arabs. I should tell you, no surprise, that the leader of ISIS, a terrorist named Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, was captured by the U.S. military back in 2009. Of course he was. The U.S. military is the best in the world when it's allowed to do its job, but it's run by the surrenderist commander-in-chief, a community organizer named Barack Obama, and he let al-Baghdadi go. He just let him go, just like Obama let 5 Taliban commanders go last month, just like he has released hundreds of terrorists from Guantanamo Bay, just like he sent terrorist Omar Khadr back here to Canada. U.S. soldiers fight and die to catch or kill terrorists, and then Obama just lets them go. Al-Baghdadi said when he was walked out of U.S. custody in 2009, he said, "I'll see you in New York." That were his last words to Americans. It's such a disaster, a humanitarian disaster, a military disaster, a financial disaster, a democratic disaster, a diplomatic disaster. Really, there isn't a way to overstate how bad it is. Americans spent thousands of lives and trillions of dollars. So does America's allies, chiefly the UK, to liberate Iraq. And in the course of a few days, it's been half reconquered. So much so that the U.S. is now devising plans to evacuate its embassy in the capital, Baghdad, after which al-Baghdadi takes his name. Just like America was run out of Vietnam. Except that these are foreign terrorists just driving America out. 1,000 terrorists driving out the greatest country in the world. They surely must think Allah is on their side. I don't think so, but more importantly, I think Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are on the other side, and that means there's nothing America's enemies can't do. Naturally, this has been a cause of scandal on U.S. political talk shows. I mean, watch on yesterday's Meet the Press how the media party grills Obama and Clinton over this policy disaster. As you can see here, now I'm kidding around, you can see they're not grilling Obama, they were grilling, get this, Mitt Romney, as in the guy who isn't president. In fact, the guy who thoughtfully said that America should leave 30,000 or so U.S. troops behind just to help Iraqis get settled, just like America to this day still has military bases in Germany, Japan, and Korea 60, 70 years after those wars are over, just to make sure things are tamped down. So they're grilling Mitt Romney, but Obama had to leave in a hurry. I mean, he had to get his troops out of Iraq for his election deadline. Didn't you know that? But really, as Clinton would say, who cares? What difference does any of that make?
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
That's what Clinton said after 4 U.S. citizens were murdered by an al-Qaeda terrorist cell on September 11th, 2012, just weeks before the U.S. election. That's why they were hustling to get troops out of Iraq. When the terrorist attack in Benghazi that Clinton was talking about there happened, Clinton and Obama said it wasn't a terrorist attack. They said it was a spontaneous demonstration against some YouTube video. Look.
I also want to take a moment to address the video circulating on the internet that has led to these protests.
Well, it is in response to a video.
It began spontaneously in Benghazi, sparked by this hateful video.
It was a crude and disgusting video, sparked outrage throughout the Muslim world. There's no video that justifies an attack on an embassy.
Those were all lies. Al-Qaeda and its offshoots are stronger than ever, not just that they're conquering new territory, ground and people they didn't have before. ISIS is making Iraq into an Islamic theocracy. Let me just read to you some of the new laws imposed on half of Iraq as 500,000 Iraqis flee. Christians, liberals, Democrats, anyone who was foolish enough to trust America. All citizens conquered by ISIS must now pray twice a day. No flags other than ISIS's terrorist flags can be displayed. They're bringing in gun control, of course, I mean, naturally. All graves and shrines that don't reflect their extremist form of Islam will be destroyed. No booze, no cigarettes, of course. And let me read this one, a verbatim translation. Ready? Women should dress decently and wear wide clothes and only go out when needed. Did you get that, ladies? Cover up and only go out when needed. Wouldn't want to lose your head or anything, yeah. There are some places in the world where there really is a war on women. It really is a war, and they do lose their heads. Iraq has asked for the U.S. to help them fight back. Obama's response so far has been no, just like Obama refused to help Ukraine. So who has stepped in to help Iraq? Who has come to the aid of Iraq when America won't? Why, Iran. Here's a picture of the leader of Iran's Quds military force in Baghdad, meeting with an Iraqi MP just over the weekend. They're holding hands. They're not gay. That's a Middle Eastern sign of fraternal friendship. That's who's holding Iraq's hand now, Iran. Iran is going to devour Iraq from the east, and ISIS is going to devour them from the north and west. But hey, what difference at this point does it make? Last weekend was the weekend when Iraq was reconquered, a decade's effort undone in days. Oh, and more news today. Gazprom, the largest natural gas company in the world controlled by the Kremlin, has announced that it is cutting off natural gas supplies to Ukraine. Just cutting them off, just starving them of energy. It's an act of war. But hey, that reset button, am I right? Reset. So where was Obama during all this weekend? During Benghazi, we know he left Washington, D.C. to fly to Las Vegas for a political fundraiser there. Well, this weekend he was actually in Palm Springs, golfing. He was golfing. I mean, you heard the man.
Al-Qaeda has been decimated.
Okay, maybe not quite, but really, what difference at this point does it make? What are you, some Tea Party racist with all your tough questions? Don't you know the real enemy is Mitt Romney? Now go buy your Hillary Clinton book and get ready for 8 more years.